Good afternoon to you all in Dubai. Thank you, Susanna, for organizing this panel and for the opportunity to share a video message. I'm so sorry I cannot be there in person with you all today, but I'm sure it's going to be a fruitful discussion. I'm Michelle Bender, legal counsel at Ocean Vision Legal and the creator of the Ocean Rights Framework. Ocean Vision Legal safeguards the ocean through law and is the central hub for the implementation and enforcement of ocean rights. I created the Ocean Rights Framework in 2017 after seeing a large gap in the rights of nature movement, where a very small proportion of the laws, policies, and judicial decisions are specific or refer explicitly to the ocean, marine ecosystems, or species. However, the good news is that plenty of case law and lessons learned are emerging in the rights of nature movement, and this forms the basis for our understanding of how rights of nature may transform ocean governance. In my humble opinion, this gap is the most important to address because not only does the ocean comprise over 70% of the planet, but it provides half of the oxygen we breathe and food and livelihood for billions of people. Not only that, but the ocean climate nexus, the interconnection between oceanic and atmospheric and land systems and cycles is undeniable. And here at COP28, the ocean must be central to discussions, as current projections of emissions could result in the ocean becoming 2 times more acidic, leading to the declining oxygen content and loss of biodiversity in vital ecosystems and species such as coral reefs. The good news is that the global community is starting to invest and change away from business as usual, such as the acknowledgement of the inherent value of biodiversity in the preamble of the newly agreed upon treaty to protect biodiversity in the high seas. Finally, ocean rights serves as a stepping stone towards universal recognition of the rights of nature, but with specificity to the jurisdictional reality of the ocean. Ocean rights is in some ways a lower hanging fruit than the all of nature approach, in part by providing a more tangible concept. And this can be seen through already established legal frameworks such as the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea and principles such as the common heritage of mankind, and specific management practices such as the lack of property rights in areas beyond national jurisdiction and the protection of migratory species. So ocean rights was born, and it's provided a fresh wave into the rights of nature movement. Ocean rights is the recognition of the ocean as a living entity, our source of life, with inherent rights and intrinsic value, regardless of the benefit and utility to humanity. Ocean rights provides for the representation of the ocean's interests and needs in decision-making and disputes, leading to human activity being conducted in such a way that it respects ecological boundaries and limits while respecting indigenous and local knowledge of those who have long had a kin-based relationship with the ocean. Now, I want to highlight just a few examples of where rights of nature is occurring in the ocean realm. This year, sea turtles were recognized as a subject of rights in Panama, and a national refuge was proposed in the Pearl Islands that included rights of nature principles from the national law that was passed in 2022. Also, the Loyalty Islands of the French territory of New Caledonia recognized that sharks and sea turtles are natural entities, in line with the Kanak cultural's worldview. And we have also seen judicial cases that have involved marine ecosystems and rights of nature principles, including in Ecuador, those cases involving illegal shark fishing and harm to mangroves, and in Belize, involving harm to the barrier reef. In both 2017 and the shark fishing case in Ecuador and the 2010 Belize barrier reef case, one central component of rights of nature was the right to restoration, and that this right involves the full reparation from harm, including material and immaterial damage, thus moving us away from a purely anthropocentric focus of profit and harm and restitution. Though I don't have time to go into more depth, I did want to mention that recognizing rights is just the first step. We need standards and principles to ensure legal effect. So with this work, it involves reorienting principles such as sustainability and precaution from an ecocentric or ocean-centered perspective. And therefore, in our decision-making processes, the understanding of what is healthy or not, what is significant or adverse harm, we look at those from the ecosystem's perspective, of which we are a part of. Now, what happens when a country recognizes the rights of nature or protects a species within its marine waters or exclusive economic zone? Yet we know that the ocean, its species and elements, they're fluid, they're dynamic, they're not confined to these imaginary boundaries that we set. This is why international recognition of the ocean as a subject of rights is so important, and hence why the Universal Declaration of Ocean Rights Initiative was envisioned. This initiative was launched in 2022 and has since received official support from the government of Cabo Verde to lead this effort within the UN. Through the course of a year and a half, we held 9 workshops where we invited stakeholders of all backgrounds, expertise, and geographical representation to contribute their inputs to not only the strategy for achieving such a feat, but we really delved into what our relationship with the ocean is and how we can best respect that relationship in a multi-governance system. Alongside the Around the World Ocean Race, summits were held and were instrumental to not only education and raising awareness, but gaining the support of local governments, including in the US, Europe, and Brazil. This September, the first phase culminated in a summit at the United Nations. Cabo Verde and Monaco introduced ocean rights into this year's Omnibus Resolution on Oceans and Law of the Sea at the UN. This ultimately did not reach consensus, but it represents a very strong starting point to continue dialogue with UN member states. Alongside the UN summit, we presented the foundational document, We Are the Ocean and the Ocean is Us, which reflects the culmination of feedback throughout the workshops, meetings, and a call for inputs round after we produced the first draft. I do want to highlight that this is not the draft declaration. We did not go that direction in strategy to present a draft to the UN for many reasons. And so this really serves as the foundational document going forward to not only encourage further dialogue, but help folks understand what we mean by ocean rights and this effort, raising awareness, but also informing the potential for a draft in the future. So we're just being cautious in how we approach that. And I want to highlight here the immense support we received in September at the UN Summit, including from Panama, Brazil, the IUCN, UNDP, the World Bank, and Volvo Cars. This demonstrates the focus and work that we did to branch out of have our dialogue branch out of the rights of nature bubble to really understand how it is perceived by other stakeholders, and then adapt and learn and adjust. And it also demonstrates the ability for ocean rights to resonate with every single person in the sector because of its universal nature. And finally, I'll just end with a little more on the what and how going forward with this vision through 2030. First, our goal is to create a coordinated coalition. We want this to be inclusive and broad in expertise in order to scale effectively in the ways needed. We recognize this needs to be a movement, and ocean rights is the brand that anyone can and should be a part of. Understanding what we are aiming to achieve specifically is of vital importance. We don't envision this effort as replacing UNCLOS or other treaties, but instead, similar to what we see with the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it would provide a legal foundation for ocean protection, enabling nations to align their laws and regulations with a common set of standards, principles, and understandings. Because right now we have hundreds of frameworks and bodies that touch upon ocean health in different ways, but they all have different standards and principles that they adhere to for the most part. Going forward, the focus of our movement, we want to continue and accelerate the work done so far. We want to continue these workshops to engage stakeholders, advocacy to gain more country support, informing the general public through communications on the importance of the ocean and ocean rights as a value-adding perspective. Particularly, the focus at Ocean Vision Legal is to really develop the legal understanding. So how will this Universal Declaration relate to UNCLOS and other frameworks, but also help translate that into language that's not just legal, but that every stakeholder can understand. It's also important that as we progress this international recognition, that ocean rights is implemented in different jurisdictions and scopes, which from the local to regional level. And this will inform the international movement, but also vice versa by showing how it works in practice. So it's really a positive feedback loop. Rights of nature is relatively new and the understanding is constantly developing. However, we see ocean rights at the forefront of its development. And if anyone has interest in collaborating or being a partner in this movement, we welcome you with open arms. Do not hesitate to contact me with any questions you may have, especially on how to get involved. So thank you so much and have a happy rest of the panel and COP28. Thank you.